Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gannon, alongside my partner, Jack Nicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. Now, the chance, go check out our website, justsayingfootball.com. Follow us on Instagram at justsayingnogwjs for article and video updates. And don't forget to check us out on Spotify and get us in your ears at Just Saying Football. All right, buddy, we are now officially in week 5 of the NFL. Moving right along. It feels weird.
Yep. It's already gone by too fast.
I know. I don't feel like it should be moving this fast. And yet, of course, it is. So we got a few teams on the bye. We got Cleveland Browns, Los Angeles Chargers, Seattle Seahawks, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So make sure to get those guys out of your lineups. And let's jump right into this with our blowout games, because we have your New York Giants making their way to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Miami is favored in this one by -11. Over under here of 50. What are your thoughts going into this one? Brutal loss for you guys on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, obviously gotta get away from that one. Miami doesn't pose any less of a threat than the Seahawks by any margin. They're favored for that reason by 11. It's looking like New York's offensive line just cannot protect Daniel Jones. It doesn't seem like he's on the same page as the coaches. And if there is one quarterback coach duo that you could argue is most well connected going into these last 4 games, it's been Tua and Mike McDaniels. They're so creative. I'm loving even Tyreek Hill to get like 2 touchdowns this week. That's pretty much my favorite bet. You could start every Dolphin against the Giants. It's going to be an interesting next couple of weeks as the Giants start to figure this out. But I have to go with Miami, sadly, on this one.
Yep, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm also going with Miami. I just think that team and that offense is going to be too much for the Giants, especially after that brutal Monday Night Football. But hopefully it's not 11 points. Hopefully it's only like 8. All right, let's keep this moving right along. So the Carolina Panthers making their way to Detroit to take on the Lions. Lions are favored in this one by -9. Over under here of 45. I'm locking the Lions right off the bat. The Vikings struggled with the Panthers, but were able to overcome them. There's no reason why the Lions, coming off of a huge win against Green Bay, shouldn't just kind of dominate this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. Detroit, they've been looking great. They have the number 1 rush defense, and Carolina has really been running their entire offense through the offensive rush. So I'm looking for Bryce Young to get right in this game, but this isn't the most favorable matchup for him. I think in Detroit too has become a tough place to play this year. I got to go Detroit, no problem on this one.
Yep, 25-32 last week against the Vikings, though. Not bad for Bryce despite the fumble. But those stats look good. All right, moving us right along into our meh category. We have the Houston Texans taking on the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta. Falcons currently favored by -1. Over under here of 41.5. Atlanta defense playing pretty well.
Yep.
Offense, though, not quite there.
Yeah, obviously, Desmond Ridder, leading the worst passing offense right now, only averaging about 156 yards, and that's through 4 games. I mean, that is just not what you want to see. Arthur Smith, they're getting the job done, it looked like, for the first 2 weeks last week in London. Pretty much embarrassed by Jacksonville. I like the Houston Texans on the road, no problem. C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins are playing way too good for me. D'Amico Ryans looks like he's fixed this Texans team.
Yep, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm also going with the Texans. You'd hope Dameon Pierce can get involved in this game, but I think the run defense of Atlanta is going to be a little bit too much for them. So, of course, you're going to be relying on C.J. Stroud, who's been playing great these first 4 weeks, and I expect him to have another great one in week 5. Let's keep this moving right along, because we have the Tennessee Titans making their way to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Another weird one here. Indianapolis favored by -1. Over under here of 42.5. JT going to be activated. Rumors. Derrick Henry return game last week. What are your thoughts about this one?
Yeah, you got to look at this like this could have been one of the most, best premier matchups. This has to be, good for the Colts fans that Jonathan Taylor is at practice, this week. But Tennessee, I mean, what a win last week they got out of nowhere. Neither of us kind of expected that. They made Cincinnati kind of look, not the way Cincinnati's been all season, but I mean, it's the Colts right now, Anthony Richardson, they're playing good enough for me to realize they can stay in games. Obviously, they had that, huge lead last week. They blew that to Matthew Stafford, but we've seen Stafford do that so many times. The Colts at home, divisional game. I like them in this one as underdogs for sure. As favorites for sure.
Awesome. I like the Titans in this one. I got to go against you. Tennessee wins when Derrick Henry runs the ball well. And Derrick Henry ran the ball well, passed the ball even better for a touchdown last week. And I think that's the recipe for them. As long as Derrick Henry can run the ball and they can operate this offense like that, they can score points, they can win games. So I think that's the recipe against the Colts. Hopefully, Indianapolis throws a little bit more with Anthony Richardson. Saw him drop a few dimes last week. See him drop back for that one. Looking forward to it, though. I think it'll be a good game.
Yeah, for sure. Anthony Richardson. I mean, we didn't know he was going to come out of that concussion. He looked fine to me last week. He just looks like they're not giving him the limitation yet, which is expected for like a 5th-week rookie for sure.
Let's see it open up. All right, moving this right along. We have the New Orleans Saints making their way to New England to take on the Patriots. New England's favored in this by -1.5. Over under here of 40. I'm locking in the Patriots. That was an embarrassing loss last week against the Dallas Cowboys, including a across the shoulder, all the way across the field pass for Mac Jones. That was a pick six. Like those are mistakes that just don't happen under Bill Belichick. So this is a get right game for them. I think the Saints are a good team to do this against. Their offense been a little underwhelming so far.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we kind of been saying the last couple of weeks. Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, they've been there for Derek Carr. We obviously saw, them trying to implement Alvin Kamara back in last week, but I mean, they got to get it right if they want to compete in their division. And New England right now is looking like one of the bottom guys in their division. So they got to keep it up. They're home favorites. I like them at home. Gillette is not an easy place to play. And Bill Belichick, after he has a game like that, you bet your ass he's going to come back and try to win at home in front of the Patriots fans. So I love them in this one.
Yep, absolutely. All right, moving this right along. We have an AFC North showdown when the Baltimore Ravens make their way to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Baltimore's favored in this one, -3.5. Over under here of 38. Kenny Pickett avoided major knee injury. That's a report. This potential that he could play this week. I was going to practice. We'll see how that is at the moment, though. It's still undecided of this recording. What are your thoughts about this game? Ravens had a huge bounce back game.
Yeah, one of the best rivalries I would say in the NFL is, Ravens, Steelers. This is two hard-hitting defenses playing great this year. I think the one thing that I really want to see is Lamar do what he did last week, just continue to run the ball, continue to just maximize his offense. What we were talking about with Justin Fields, Sean, last week was the offense isn't really tailored to him doing his maximizations of, his best talent. And I think Lamar, John Harbaugh has been in the game long enough to know that. Love them on the road this week. The 3.5, I think this is a field goal kind of game. That's how it always feels like with these guys. So I think if that line changes, Baltimore 3, I like that. But, I would just take Baltimore on the road, no problem this week.
You know what? I got to go opposite of you. I'm going to go with the Steelers. I know Kenny Pickett might not be in for this one, and that's totally fine. Trubisky, I think, is 2-3 right now, currently as a starter with the Steelers, and he knows how this offense works with Matt Canada, despite it being a lackluster offense.
The Ravens being one of the more boring offenses.
Really boring. What we saw last week was a Ravens team that faced a rookie that was not ready for his first game, and not to say that he wasn't prepared, but we don't know what's going on behind in the building. Everyone up to that almost like the last minute of the game, I think everyone thought Deshaun Watson was going to be in for that game. Mm-hmm. So you're expecting a lot for a rookie. The Ravens defense took advantage of that. This is not going to be the same team. It's going to be a very different Steelers team. I think Mitchell Trubisky at home, the defense wants a bounce back game, especially against losing to Houston, which no one expected. This will be a big win for them if they're able to get this accomplished. So I'm going with the Steelers.
Well, yeah, I like that. At home, we know that, firsthand, that's a crazy place to play. I expect a close game. I do like a Mark Andrews touchdown. I just want to say that he's had 3 in the first 4 games. So it's got to be another good one for him this week.
All right, I like it. Let's move this right along to the Cincinnati Bengals making their way to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Cincinnati's favored in this by -3. Over under here of 44.5. Right off the rip, I'm going Arizona.
No.
They play well. They play well. The second half woes are a little bit worrisome. We saw it against the Giants. We saw it last week against the 49ers. But this Arizona team competes, and Cincy just does not look the same. Burrow looks banged up. And yes, Jamar Chase is open all the time. But when your quarterback is injured, you won't be able to get the ball to your star wide receivers.
Yeah, I know. It's and obviously Joe Burrow, he took some hits last week, man, that like if you took these hits yourself, you'd wonder, it's not going to be a rib injury because you got hit in the rib. You're flying. He got hurt so bad. I don't love what the Bengals are doing. This is like a cursed season for them. I'm going to pick them in this game because I can't on paper, see the Arizona side. I know your side here where you're saying Cincinnati's so bad that they could fail downwards and Arizona could fail upwards.
Well, and Arizona's been surprisingly good this season.
They have been for sure. You know what I'm saying? On paper, essentially, I'm looking at this like if Joe Burrow needs to have a get right game, it's got to be this. You know, the Titans are a scrappy team. We saw that last week, but I mean, if you can't win this game on the road, and if you're disagreeing with me and you agree with Sean, just know the Arizona Cardinals are 2-1. And why Vegas is doing this to me, I don't know. But I'll take Bengals by 3. But man, I expect this to be a closer game than it should be, in my opinion. You know?
Yeah, no, I
what
like
a mess.
it.
What a mess.
I think right now the Bengals are sadly going through a little bit of the Carson Palmer curse, but I don't want to bring that up too much. No. Moving this right along, we have the Philadelphia Eagles making the way to LA to take on the Rams. Philly's favored here by -4.5. Over under here of 50.5. Rams get Cooper Kupp back. Puka Nuka's going off. What are your thoughts going into this game?
Yeah, couple of stout, all like defenses. You know, the LA defenses look better than we thought after getting rid of Jalen Ramsey. They're at home. Philly's traveling all the way across the country for this game. But I gotta say, no defense and run game has looked better to me than the Eagles this year. I gotta say, if there is one random team that can do this and beat the Eagles and stop them from being undefeated right now, it's the Rams at home with Cooper Kupp coming back. They wouldn't bring Cooper Kupp back unless he's 100% healthy, and we know what he could do. If he's not, you're still going to have Puka versus Darius Slay. I love that as a matchup. We saw the Rams. I just talked about it with Anthony Richardson's, the Colts game. The Rams came all the way back in that game. There's no reason Matthew Stafford can't do that. I think, these are the last 2 teams to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. The Rams got to prove that they're in it to win it this year by winning and beating the Eagles. But, Jalen Hurts touchdown no matter what.
Jalen Hurts touchdown anytime, all the time. I'm going with the Eagles in this one. I just think it's a loaded offense. It's a really solid defense. They gave up a ton of points last week to the Commanders, and I just cannot see them doing it again. DeAndre Swift is number 2 right now in rush yards, only behind CMC. I don't know what's happening, but the offense is still operating well. And, any given day, Devonta Smith or A.J. Brown could be the guy. They got 2 guys that can really go after him. This is a weak secondary in the Rams.
So, Sean, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith or Puka and Cooper?
I would take Smith and Brown only because of the age and the health right now.
I like that.
Sorry, Cooper.
I'm going to ask you that question in 5 weeks.
Yeah, we'll still go back to that absolutely as we should. Let's move this right along to the New York Jets making their way to Denver to take on the Broncos. Denver's favored in this one by -2. Over under here of 43.5. Broncos had a massive comeback last week. Jets.
Both go with the Jets.
Fuck yeah, we're going the Jets. I mean, that was the refs won the game for the Chiefs.
I know the Broncos won last week, but we still don't like betting on it. We're not touching those guys the rest of this year, man. And the Jets, I know this is not, this is forbidden ground on our show, but Zach Wilson, he didn't look terrible last week.
If that's a Zach that can show up and play, this team could
look, he made some mistakes, but I mean, god dang, so did Mahomes. Mahomes made more mistakes than him.
And this time, when asked if it's the defense's fault or his fault, he took accountability this time. Yeah. Last time he was like, "No, it's not my fault. It's not my fault."
The Jets were disciplined. I mean, a bad snap. You pray that every snap gets there. But
a missed penalty on Jermaine Johnson.
Huge missed penalties. We can get into that in a whole nother time too. I mean, you have the whole drive, and me and Sean are getting sick of these teams getting 10-minute drives in the fourth quarter.
It was a 7-minute drive.
But then for the refs to give them first downs for free and not make the game more interesting for the people, I hate that. But the Jets,
better, refs.
I think this is a low-scoring game. 43.5. I don't think so. I think the defense.
I like the over.
The only good thing. Oh no!
You're taking the over.
Oh no!
Brees Hall, Dalvin
Cook. It's a trap game. It's going to be. It's going to be freaking 43 exactly.
Run game sucks right now for Denver. Just absolutely horrendous. And you have Brees Hall. Welcome to the NFL game where everyone was like offensive rookie of the year was against the Broncos. This is the chance for them to shine. This is where I think you can lock in Dalvin Cook anytime.
Dalvin Cook anytime, right?
A Brees Hall anytime. I think this is one of those games.
Time together.
It's gonna be 200 yards on the ground and only like a $125 passing from Wilson, and it's going to end up winning them the game somehow.
Yeah, honestly, it sounds crazy that that's like a realistic thing. Like Desmond Ritter's out here throwing 150 yards, and we're like, that's not a lot. And then Zach Wilson, like, if Zach Wilson does 150 yards, they can win this game. So
easily.
I don't know, but yeah, Jets away. I love that.
Take it away, Jets. Love it. All right, let's move this right along to the Kansas City Chiefs making the way to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Kansas City favored this by -5, over under here of 53, the highest over under of the entire week. I'm locking in Kansas City. Sorry, Minnesota. Our defense against the pass is just not good. I mean, like I said earlier about Bryce Young, 25 of 32. I think he threw 233 yards or something around that. So, like that's Bryce Young, a rookie, doing that. Now we have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. If you have him in your fantasy team, which I do, start him. He's gonna go off.
Hammer it. Hammer the Kelce touchdown after.
Easily.
I saw something last week.
Jarek McKinnon revenge game touchdown. Hammer it.
I love that. Jarek McKinnon. And after Pacheco's week last week, nobody on the Vikings defense they're not gonna be looking at Jarek McKinnon like that. I gotta say, Justin Watson right now is the leader in yards for the Kansas City Chiefs. Is 160. I find this to be crazy. As crazy as I think maybe Taylor Swift's about to show up to Minnesota next week, and just tear the whole town up. But these guys met in 2019 back then. Both these quarterbacks were the same, and Kansas City kept it close. They were in KC. It was like week 10.
Mahomes didn't start that game though.
No, I know. I'm like, it could be an opportunity here for the Vikings to defend their home thing, but I feel like I've said that 3 weeks in a row. So hammer the KC 5.5. Sorry, Sean. Sean. Sorry, the state of Minnesota. But I'm taking the Chiefs 5. And I love what Sean said. The McKinnon TD. Dang. I want to say the Kelce TD, but you're going to wind up doing that anyway. And like I was saying, I saw a guy the other day, and he was saying that, pretty much the global economy is just going to crash just because if Kelce doesn't score a touchdown, everybody had bet on it the other night.
100%. Put in a Jarek Dalvin Cook in your parlay. You're welcome.
Call it DeShonzi. Bang.
You're welcome. All right, let's move this along because we have 2 games of the week. Our first, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars making their way to Buffalo, taking on the Bills. Bills are favoring this by -6, over under here 48. Jaguars coming off big win in London, and I said that this is a Buffalo Bills home game, which it is, but this game is also in London.
Yeah.
So this game will be kicked off at 9:30. Just note that for fantasy purposes, everyone. If you got Josh Allen in, which I'm sure many people do, or Trevor Lawrence, I'm sure many people do. That's a 9:30 a.m. start. Just keep that in mind.
There is a lot of fantasy relevancy in this game for sure.
Yeah,
you bring up that list of my
Travis Etienne. We got Calvin Ridley, Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis keeps finding the end
Cook,
zone.
Dawson Knox, or Dalton Kincaid. If you want to flip that coin.
So tons of fantasy in here. I'm locking in the Bills though. Jaguars. They got a big win against Atlanta like they should have, but it's still just not consistent. I'm waiting for that second half of the season push, which I feel like they're going to sneak up on us. So
I'm interested to see how Jacksonville looks down the season with like the Texans coming up and the Titans winning these random ass games. Bills 6, totally cool with that. I think that they showed up last week. For sure. I saw last week was Miami. Of course, they were probably exhausted from that game 2 weeks ago where they scored 70 points. However, I do believe that the Bills kind of solidified themselves as the best AFC team to me going forward. I liked Miami going next week. When you see them head ahead and they got to play them again, I'm still confident in the Bills. Jacksonville's up there with one of the better AFC teams if you look at it a certain way. But the Bills, I don't know. I don't think the Jacksonville can win twice. They may have the advantage already being out there with the time change. That could be a huge factor for the Bills.
And they play well in London.
Yeah, they do. This is now the 11th game they will be playing in London. That is just too many. But the Bills, they have the second best defense, only allowing 13.8 points a game. They have the best, second best offense at 34.8 points a game. You gotta trust a team like that. How am I going to take a team? How am I not going to take that team?
I like that. Also, just some injury things to notice. Realize Tre'Davious White will be out for the remainder of the season for an Achilles, which is just a brutal loss for this defense. Von Miller should be back soon, so that's a big bonus for them. But wish a speed recovery for Tre'Davious White, for sure, one of the best corners out there. All right, moving this right along with the Dallas Cowboys making their way to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. 49ers are favored in this by -4, over under here of 45. This should be a really good game. This is a playoff rematch from a year ago where Zeke hiked the ball to Dak. It was a weird game. Weird end to that game.
What a weird way to end their legacy. But, I mean, it's classic way to end the Cowboys playoff seasons. Yeah, you heard me, Cowboys fan. No, like Sean said, this should be the best game of the week for sure. They're in San Francisco. Dallas has been dominating people. Their defense is looking like a top 3 defense alongside of, San Francisco, maybe Philly's up there. But like you said, there's a playoff rematch. And San Francisco, they want to be known as the best team in the NFC, and they feel like they got screwed last year. It starts by beating Dallas and their potent offense. You've seen CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard just tearing people up the last couple of weeks. Sean's got Jake Ferguson going hard. But the San Francisco 49ers, I got to say, Brock Purdy's looking like a top 10 QB to me this season. CMC is looking like the MVP to me this season. I got to go San Francisco at home. I don't see Dallas booming the way that they have and taking advantage of the games the way they have. I like Dallas this year. I think they are way better. This is one of the better teams I've seen this year. I saw it in person. They crushed my Giants. I'll just say it. But 2 defensive touchdowns last week. Brock Purdy's got to minimize his mistakes for sure.
Yeah, that's what Brock Purdy does best. I'm locking in the 49ers. I mean, you're thinking about the talent they had. They won a game against Arizona with a 4-touchdown performance from one guy on their team, CMC, and that doesn't include the fact that Ayuk was making big plays, or that Deebo Samuel only had 6 yards, that Kittle only had like 10 yards. Like, their main guys didn't need to be involved in this game because that's how this team operates. Kittle can take over a game. Deebo can take over a game. Ayuk can take over a game. CMC. And we've just seen it time and time again. The loss of Trevon Diggs, I think, is a big loss for the Dallas Cowboys, and I think that this will be an area where the 49ers can really exploit them. It's also going to be a really good first test, I think, for the 49ers in terms of playing up against another playoff-ready team. And again, for the Dallas Cowboys defense, a great test. Like, Micah Parsons, your job today, stopping CMC and getting after the quarterback. And it's easier said than done.
Mistakes for sure.
Yeah, and it's easier said than done. But I do like the 49ers in this one, and I'm comfortable with that spread of -4. I think that's a good one.
I feel like if they do win, they have to. It has to be like they have to get away with it for some reason. You got to make Dak make mistakes too. Dak led the league in interceptions last year, but why? I feel like I don't know why I don't go to that. I do also like Nick Bosa and Micah Parsons for sacks this weekend. I think that
1.5. I think they could each get 2.
Each get 2?
Yeah.
Dang, I think
I'd lock that one in.
I could see Nick Bosa getting 2 for sure with the thing, but then I'm not going to doubt Micah's ability to get 2 because every time I do that, I lose.
Those are arguably the top 2 pass rushers in the league. Arguably,
yeah.
Myles Garrett,
highest paid and soon to be highest paid.
Honestly, so it should be a great one. I love these 2 defenses. Let's see what the offenses can bring together. But that's all the time they have. Thank you for listening. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you guys for checking us out. Some awesome games this week. That Vikings-KC game, Dallas, San Francisco, Bills, and Jacks in London. That's going to be awesome. Check us out. All of our game picks posted on Just Saying with no G, WJS on Instagram. We got Just Saying Football on YouTube and Spotify for you to watch and listen. Just make sure to like, subscribe, so you can make sure to get all the content right away once we get it out for you. Thanks for checking us out. Enjoy the games.
Enjoy.